Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you. Hi.
I'm glad to see you. You're looking so good.
Thank you. Thank you. You look amazing as well. I absolutely miscalculated the time difference. So I had set my mind to 6 at my time, and right now it's actually 5 a.m.
Oh, God. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Giving us your time and being so sweet. When you were off, I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But then for you about that challenge, and I was like, okay. Somehow, I wonder why we are only. I hope the rest of our participants didn't miscalculate the time as well, and they think it's 2 p.m. as usual. We are only 3. It doesn't matter, we can still go. Yeah, they'll get the recording. The others will join, I think.
Yeah.
So, to start with, I'm so very grateful that you accepted my invite to be hosted on Project 42. And like before, Project 42 is an idea that I conceived to help keep our hopes alive, keep us inspired, especially for us who are in Uganda. And it's very easy to flip into depression when you're home. There's nowhere you're going, especially those who are not working. Everything, there's a lot of pressure everywhere. So that's the whole essence of Project 42. And the topic that we've chosen to chat about today is something too big for me to begin. But I'm glad that you are on board to help us talk about. Maybe to start with, do we know you a little bit deeper than the Catherine?
Well, first of all, I'm really honored to be here, Monica. Thank you so much. My name is Catherine Yahanga, and I am 25 years old. I originally born in Kitgum, but mostly raised in Gulu most of my childhood. I'm also a mother to 2 amazing, beautiful girls. They're my little queens. I currently reside in the state in Vermont. It's in the United States of America, and I do keep busy, with gratitude and work. So I am very grateful.
Sorry about that. Technology is an issue. So it's going to be a nice one, I think, as we started. What do you basically do?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What do you basically do?
With Gratitude with Kath?
Yes.
So Gratitude with Kath is a platform that was created to cultivate healing and hope through gratitude itself, and shared stories. So knowing where we come from, especially people that actually remember where they come from, most of us did not get to experience a specific childhood. I don't know what anyone would call normal, but not normal. I do know that it is hard to have hope coming from a place that, I come from. And so healing and being grateful has been a big factor to it, and it's really, really, really helped me, move forward through my childhood and adulthood. And so Gratitude with Kath is basically a safe place to help cultivate healing and hope through reminding yourself that I am okay. I am grateful that I am still here. I am grateful that I can talk, I can write, I can sing, I have a job, I have amazing parents, I have amazing siblings. And it's really, really hard, because I have, and this basically came out of conversations with a couple of friends. This year has been very depressing. 2020, when COVID hit, I was here. I came back here in 2019 after visiting Uganda, and most of my friends basically shut out, and it was very sad because people were forgetting to be grateful, and to understand that we're not perfection, because when we get lost in trying to be perfect, we don't appreciate the little things that we have, that we already have. When you are grateful for what you already have, you receive more. And so I started writing about gratitude. It was basically a journal where I'd wake up every morning and, I am grateful for me. I am an amazing person. I am a lovely mother. I am a lovely daughter. I am an amazing friend. I am grateful. And so, I absolutely hope that Gratitude with Kath as a platform will help, through shared experiences, cultivate healing and hope for everyone of all ages, basically.
Well, I really need to appreciate you for starting that, because just to go back, I'll just get back to that Gratitude with Kath later. Before going on or diving deeper into the conversation that we are having today,
right?
I think somebody could be asking what they really talking about. I think I know about somebody hurting because they have lost a loved one into the arms of another person. Somebody hurting because they've lost a loved one to death. Somebody hurting because they've been betrayed by a best friend. Somebody hurting because they are in a relationship with someone who is far away. Let's talk about soldiers who go serving elsewhere, and then you are part. Several other things. The latest being people dying because of COVID. You wake up one morning and someone is gone, and so people are hurting. The list is endless. Maybe let's start from what is healing.
Healing, personal healing. Healing is so in depth. I tell you, it is a hard thing to explain, especially because my way of healing is absolutely different from, your way of healing. I feel healing begins with appreciation. Being able to. I don't know what's happening. I can hear my voice back. Can you hear me?
Oh yes, I can hear you. I think
okay. Healing, is a personal thing. Everyone's journey to healing is very different. Now, my way of healing is through. It's very, very different. I am a happy person in general. I go through acceptance. I go through conversations with people. I write. I indulge in the things that, that are present for me. Had you had mentioned before, people have been through a lot of loss. And when people go through that kind of loss, it's hard to come back from it. But generally, I feel you first allow yourself. Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, perhaps Collins could mute his button.
I need money.
Collins, do you think you could mute your button? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So you first allow yourself to mourn. You mourn your losses. People suppress, when you allow yourself to suppress, it becomes a bitterness. And and you only lose yourself in so much anger that you end up losing more. And so letting the thing of the past be the past, and whether it's something that happened yesterday or an hour ago, it takes a lot of courage to let go and accept that, this has happened. Now, how can I move forward? What can I do to be better? And the process of healing is so in depth. There's no straight way to healing, and each person has to be able to look inward and ask themselves, what do I really want? And be very, very honest with that answer, to how you will actually get to what you want. You want peace. What do you need to do to find peace? Who do you need to cut off? Who do you need to talk to? Who do you need to forgive? And so, it is healing in general is a very, very big topic.
I agree. It's a very great topic. Like you had said before, we need to start with acceptance, possibly. For example, if you've lost somebody into the arms of another person, or to death,
right?
Or, as I was saying before, you've been betrayed by a dear friend, and then you have to accept first that this has happened. I cannot undo it. Mm-hmm. So, since I cannot undo it, I have to move forward. There are two things. Other people prefer to revenge, to get back and say, since you gave me, I'm going to do that very exact thing. So other people prefer to revenge. Others prefer to go quiet, and people heal differently, like you said. I appreciate you sharing, writing, crying, which is also allowed.
Vulnerability.
Play. Vulnerability. Yeah. I want us to go a little bit deeper into acceptance and closure. Do you believe in closure?
I do. But closure is also, again, a very personal thing. Most people think I think closure comes in two different parts. The first closure that you receive is personal. It's the type that you accept, and you're like, you know what, this is it, because the gut feeling never lies. When you listen to your gut feeling, it's a very, very strong sender of messages. And so if you feel that, look, this is not good for me, that is good closure. The second one that I think that most people prefer is when they hear it from someone else. We always have this idea in our mind that what we know is not enough, and that when someone else tells us that, it's actually the truth, when in fact it's not necessarily so. So, I really, really believe in closure, but I believe more in the personal closure. When you feel things are not moving in the direction that you want it to go, you can change it. And you do not necessarily need someone else's approval or, knowledge to tell you that, it's time to move on. I'm going to give you an example. Someone in an abusive relationship, that it's time to move on. Love is not waking up in the morning and being beaten at or manipulated, or shunned down. If someone keeps dimming your light, you already know you're sad. When you see them, you're angry. That is your first step to closure. You're seeing it before you, but then you sit tight and you wait for someone else to tell you, hey, it's time to move on. That is the second type of closure. But you already have been through the first closure of knowing this is not good for me. So, and it is a hard thing, to remove yourself from situations that are not healthy. It takes, again, a lot of courage and self-esteem and patience. But, closure is quite a thing these days.
It is a big thing. Before we go into talking about people who choose to revenge, I think going so fast is also a way of, destroying oneself. If I'm to relate to Ariana Grande's song, Thank You, Next. That is if we are talking about moving on from a relationship. If you lost someone into the arms of another person, or you just decide, I do not need this person anymore, so you think you should move on, and then thank you, next. You don't give yourself time to say, okay, let me what happened, what was my contribution in it. What do you have to say about that? Jumping
I actually like that song.
Jumping to another just.
I absolutely like that song. Thank You, Next. Interpretation. We all interpret things very differently. So when that song initially came out, quoting to the song in particular, a friend of mine was going through one of the hardest breakups, and she kept saying, well, now that's done, thank you, next. And we talked about it, and this is what I told her. When you think of thank you, next, people that spend time when the next is you, the next should be you, because you just got out of something that was very traumatizing, that was hurtful. You need to focus on you, because it takes two for something to happen, and communication is hard for most people, communicating that this is how I feel. And so you allow things to build up, like, oh, well, let it go. Oh, no, well, I trust you, but when you really want to talk about something, I think it's very important to actually talk about it. And so when you say thank you, next, the next should be you. Work on yourself. What do you like to do? Who have you missed? You've spent time away from your parents or your siblings or friends. Work. Get a project that you enjoy doing. Music. Start working out. Anything that is going to benefit you. And in my opinion, people that say thank you, next, and actually move on to the next person need a lot of healing. They are not comfortable being alone. They thrive on being loved and wanted by other people. And that is not love. That is abuse in its own, because you're not being honest with the person that you're trying to get with, the next person that you're trying to be with. And so, you just accumulate, and that is suppression. You accumulate your need and desire to be with someone who actually probably deserves better than you, because you are bringing broken pieces to someone else to pick and put back together. That's an impossible mission, and a bit unfair, to be honest. And so, when you leave something that is traumatizing, I know it's really hard, but this is the part where you rely on yourself, keeping yourself accountable with keeping busy, healing, do things that you love to do, make new friends, get new hobbies, other than jumping onto the next person that you might probably cut with those pieces of glasses. So that is absolutely my opinion on that. Heal, work on you, because when you fix yourself, you're able to give yourself to someone else completely.
Holy.
Yes, ma'am.
I love the way the conversation is going, and you've been on this route of healing and rejuvenation a long time. There's the concept that people say that, for example, if you've been in a relationship, it takes the same amount of time that you had with this person for you to heal. Can you say something about it?
I had that too. So most of my friends and family know that I am currently going through a divorce. And I remember me and my best friend, we Googled how long does it take to move on to the next relationship. And Google said half the time that you have been with that person. So if it was 5 years, it will take 2.5 years. If it was 10 years, it will take 5 years. I don't think that's true. I think that as much time as you allow yourself, it's again, it goes back to being truly honest with yourself and what you want. If you are in the process of healing and you know what you want, you need to know what you want. That's the first thing. And you need to be accepting who you are when you're comfortable in your own skin, literally, comfortable being alone, waking up, doing the things that you do without needing an opinion of someone else. Then you are practically in a space where you can share yourself with someone else. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be 10 years or 3 months. But again, that is just a personal opinion. I don't think it takes as much time as most people believe. It builds up. When people say, "Oh, I'm going to be single for a long time," you're kind of asking for it. Work on yourself. When the right person comes, you will always know. And the right person can come in a week or two. And so it's. And so it comes back to being truly honest with yourself and knowing exactly what you want and acceptance. And so every person's belief is I keep going back to it being a personal thing, because it is. I will say one thing, personally, I don't think you should give yourself a crazy amount of time. While you're working on yourself, you're manifesting the kind of person you want. If you are practicing good healing behaviors, believe me, when you go out there and you're talking to people, you're going to want that in the person that you want to be with. I ask questions: are you healing or are you healed? Because that is very important. I am not going to fix someone else. They need to be able to fix themselves, because then otherwise in that type of relationship, you become their mother, and you do not want to be a mother to the person that you're dating. They're supposed to be your partner and equal. And so we need to be in the same headspace.
It is really beautiful how it is going. Participants who have just joined,
we lost you there for a minute, Monica.
I think almost getting a beautiful way. Everything is revealing, I should say. You're going to have time to ask Catherine yourself. The other thing that I really, really wish we talk about, how the relation, of course, as we say, people feel differently, and it also depends on the relationship you had with that person. There is this that has been circulating on social media, love relationship. Yeah, still about it. People say there is that particular you like. Okay, thank you. Better. People say there is this one particular relationship that will always remain or leave a mark. There is a joke that has been circulating on social media that you say you're strong, but there is that one particular one that almost gave you stroke. That aside, what I want us to talk about is if we are to compare healing from a betrayal from a best friend, or let's say family, and that of a loved one. What do you have to say about it?
I think betrayal from a loved one is the most crucial one that anyone can ever go through, because that is family. But I also believe that, there's a saying, blood is thicker than water. I like to disagree with that very much. There are people that you meet, my family in particular, it's consistent of strangers. They're not my blood family, but they are my family. They're the people that I can mostly count on. But then again, blood could be thicker than water, but I like to say that, blood and water could be the same. And healing from, it's hard. I feel like the hardest thing for people to do is talk. Have a conversation about how we truly feel. Everyone is afraid of vulnerability. They're afraid of talking. And when you're afraid to talk of talking to someone that hurt you, how do you expect to be able to actually move forward? If I can't come to you, Monica, and talk to you and say, hey, look, express to you, this is how I feel, this is what you did that hurt me. Now, the most important factor in being able to ask to tell you and express to you how I feel, it helps you understand why I'm either distant or not as happy as I have been. And perhaps, you giving me your insight on why you did what you did would help. People need to start having these hard conversations, and being vulnerable with how you feel is a big step in that. And it saddens me for the most part, that people just do not know how to communicate. Someone pisses you off, oh, I'm going to go and beat you up, or I'm going to tell my brothers to beat you up, or it always goes back to violence or some kind of bitter form of activity. And when we start having conversations, that is when we are actually going to allow ourselves to begin healing. Family or not, conversations need to happen, because if these conversations don't happen, the pattern continues, the pattern of gossiping. You hear say, and I had it always goes back to, this so and so did this, whereas if you truly come out and have a conversation, a very honest conversation, without being afraid of being looked at as a vulnerable person, and people say, I'm strong. No, you're not. And yes, you may be, but you're not strong until you actually have these hard conversations. You cannot hide strength behind suppression. When you suppress, that is not strength. And when you actually have those conversations, that is strength. When you know what you want, that is strength. When you are accepting, when you can actually cry if you want to, that is strength. When you move away from a relationship, friendship, familyship, that is not healthy for you, you are strong. That is strength. But you have to be able to first try. Give it a try, have that conversation. And if you know that, it's not going anywhere, no one is understanding you, or, you're not working towards the goals that you want, that's when you leave. Because there's nothing more you can do. You can only control what you can do, but not what other people can do. And so, it goes back again to inner honesty and personal truth.
I said I'm loving this. I don't know if the rest are too, but I really, really appreciate. My thoughts to you about the divorce you said you are going through.
Right.
And I just, with your permission, if it is okay, there is something that has come to mind that I think we will talk about, and maybe request our participants to ask if they do have, and then we close from there. There's moving on from a relationship where you basically have nothing to fight for. Talking about, let's put property aside.
Right.
Let's talk about, I believe it is easier to move on or about the divorce when there are no children in the picture. What do you have to say about children in a broken relationship?
Yes,
we are looking at you. We are looking at the other person, who most times will also be hurting as well. But then there are human beings also in the picture, in the name of the kids.
Right.
And you talked something very, very important that conversations have to happen. However hard they are, they have to happen.
Yes.
And coming from a point where people say cut the communication, but you cannot cut communication with someone with whom you have another human being.
Right.
What do you have to say? Yeah. What can you say?
Well, firstly, yesterday there was a post that I saw about a woman who she posted and said, you know, I've been dating someone for a while, and he wants me to meet his children, but I do not like. This was her saying it. I do not like children that are not my own. So I don't want to meet his children, but I want him. And so the first thing that came to mind is you're a very, very selfish woman. Because by the time you start to date a man with children, you need to know that these are his children. They are part of him, especially a father who actually is living with his children. You know, he's a full single dad, full-time single parent. And so, you know, posing your question, conversations need to happen, yes. But there are also two types of relationships that people get out of. There is the very toxic relationship. I'm talking narcissistic, egomaniacs, you know, completely focused on one particular person. There is no question whatsoever. If your partner with whom you have had children with is toxic for you and your children, do not be afraid to cut them off. Childhood trauma is one of the hardest trauma to heal from. It is one of the hardest trauma, because then you have to, children, you'll probably believe me when I say this, there are children as young as 2 years old seeing therapists just because parents are abusive in that particular relationship. And so, you know, if you have a child with someone who is toxic for you and your children, they're not emotionally available. You could be physically unavailable, but you have to be emotionally available for your children, because these children need both their parents. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they cannot have both figuratives basically in one parent. And so it's okay to be a single parent raising children on your own. Now, I know why most people feel like, well, I cannot, you know, I have to. You don't have to. If it is toxic and you're going to cause more damage than good to your children, it's okay to cut it off. Now, the other relationship is when, you know, you both want the good and the best for your children. You know, when you fight, you never fight in front of them. They've never seen you fight for a minute. They don't even know why you're divorcing. That kind of a relationship, you know, of course, both parents would know we want to be in our children's life. And then the communication begins. The conversation begins. When we talk, we don't have to talk about you and I. I could care less about how you're doing. But how are the children doing? What did so-and-so do today? What is their favorite color? You know, do they have new friends? Those are conversations that, you know, that are going to have to happen as long as it's a healthy relationship. And so encouraging a toxic relationship just for the sake of wanting your children to have both the father and mother is, no, I do not go with that. I absolutely think, you know, if they are toxic, let them go, because you're only bringing more damage to yourself and your children. No matter how much healing you've done, there's always going to be that one trigger, either for your child or for yourself, and then it'll disrupt it all. It's like, you know, when we're children, when we're building those bricks, you know, we'd sit down and build those bricks, you remove one layer of it and the whole thing crumbles. And so much work that you're doing just to bring in another toxic person to remove that layer of brick. No. Do what is good in a healthy manner, you know, for yourself and for the children.
Wow, I really, really appreciate you for sharing. I think it's the time I'll call upon our participants, with your permission, if they have questions for you.
Of course.
Yeah. if anyone has a question, I think this is the time before we wrap up the conversation.
Hello.
Hi, Faith.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about closure. Like sometimes I feel maybe like we wait probably for months or years for closure from someone who hurt us, but they probably are too proud to talk about it, or they would just never come to closure with you. So what do you do? Do you just find closure within yourself and move on, or you try and talk to them?
Well, first of all, you should not expect anything from anyone, including closure. It's like the statement that I wrote yesterday in one of my writings. You cannot force a fish. Well, not force. You cannot ask a fish to climb a tree, right? You cannot force someone to give you an answer to any question. I could text you today and say, hey, Faith, how are you doing? You could choose not to respond, right? And so it's the same with closure. If you expect that someone else has the same sympathies like you do, or the same, empathy like you do for your emotions or their emotions, then you're headed for a lot of disappointments. And when you remove expectations in any way from any situation, especially closure, there are people that ghost you. People ghost. It is the hardest thing for me to fathom, the fact that people actually ghost people. What are you? I mean, it's as simple as saying, hey, I'm not interested anymore. I wish you a good life. It's as simple as that. That is good closure. But most people don't do that. Now, what happens in a point where someone doesn't give you closure? You let it go. It is hard, and like I said, it takes a lot of hard work, internal work, forgiveness. You need to forgive yourself, because the only reason you're clinging onto that closure is because you think you did something wrong, and you need them to tell you what you did wrong, where in fact you didn't do anything wrong at all, and they are actually in fault. And so when you get to a point where you're like, you know what, I am a great woman, I love this person, I respected this person, that is enough closure. But for everyone, again, it's absolutely different. Some people will want to hear it from the other person, but it's always important to not expect anything, because people will always be people. We are disappointing creatures, and no matter how good of a person you are, you may never be good enough for one person, and that is okay as long as you are good for you. And so, expecting closure from someone else is a pit of disappointment, basically. So, focus on you and your internal healing and acceptance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Faith. Just to add on that, Faith and I and another gentleman called Mwami, we have a platform, a group called Bloom Heal Love. It's basically a space that allows people of all ages share experiences and talk, and it's a space that allows all of us to be accountable to each other. We call it the tribe. So it's a tribe of people that believe in gratitude, and if you are going through something and you want to talk about it and you feel like you do not have anyone, that is when you're welcome to join the group, and confide, basically ask a question or ask for anyone to talk to, and in that way we keep each other accountable and we keep the healing spirit going. So again, thank you, Faith, for being a part of that group. I really appreciate you.
There is a question from Daniel.
Yes.
I don't know if you've read it.
I am not so sure I know where to go. Could you read it for me, please?
Yeah, he says any reasons as to why people get vulnerable around ex-lovers, regardless the kind of closures and timing.
Well, Daniel, emotions are things that we do not force. What we feel for people will always be what we feel for them. And I think that is also a fear of abandonment. You know, we were abandoned by this person, and yes, we have the closure, but we still care for them and we still love them. And there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. You know, it's okay to be vulnerable around them. You know, you love them once. They know a part of you that you have never shared with anyone but them. And so, you know, there's that fear of never being able to be loved by anyone else but that person. But when you move past, I mean, the more you actually see them, the less you will feel that way. Because, you know, when you love someone, there's a way you worship the ground they walk on. You know, you see so much perfection in them. But in due time, as you start, again, I go back to personal healing and acceptance, when you start to focus on you, because when you go around them, you see them, you know, you're all about them. It's like, oh my goodness, you know, she looks beautiful. Oh, I like the shoes she's wearing. Oh, she smells good. Change all of that and start, you know, even when you're around them, I look good. Right? Change it, make it up. It's okay to be selfish, because in this way you're preserving yourself. You know, do not give them that power of being vulnerable around them, because then they think that, you know, in fact they are better than you. And in a relationship, you're supposed to be an equal. You know, you're supposed to be partners. And so if you're in a space where you are vulnerable with someone, but they also cannot see and appreciate that, then, you know, internal healing. You need to heal. There are things that you need to forgive and let go of. And once you get to that space where you feel less, you're gonna feel less and less vulnerable around them. That is healing right there. That is healing. So, you know, my hope for you, Daniel, is that you will get to a point where you forgive yourself and also expect nothing from this person but yourself. You know, love yourself, because when you love yourself, you attract the right person who will also love you the same way you love yourself.
Make that clear, and I feel so bad to have just joined in, because we are almost closing the conversation. Catherine has to get on to other business. So as you were sharing with us, gratitude with Kath, where and how can we get it and be a part of it, if it is a...
Oh yes. Gratitude with Kath we have 4 platforms basically. We have the one on Instagram, and it's the same as, you know, at Gratitude with Kath. And then we have one on Facebook with the same name, at Gratitude with Kath. The group, the tribe, is Bloom Hill Love. And that is where you will be able to, I mean, once you click join, there are a series of questions that you'll have to respond to as well, and read the group rules. We are currently working on a website that will also be conjoined with apparels, and any proceeds gathered from people buying our products will be going to either a mental health group in Uganda or an orphanage. And so, you know, we are working on a lot of things that will be able to help, you know, our communities and the people that we care about. So, you know, do not be afraid to, you know, like, follow, share, and invite your friends and family. And we often do feature people, and these are people that understand healing, are in the process of healing, and, you know, are honest with themselves about what they truly want. And so it's a shared platform. It's a platform for everybody to know that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to have those mental breakdowns. You know, if you want to cry it out, you have the right space and group of people who will never judge you for being vulnerable.
going to give, I think, one more chance for any question for those doing it. In the meantime, as maybe somebody's raising a hand or typing, yes, maybe somebody's raising a hand or typing, we are coming to the end of the conversation. We talked about healing, we talked about self-care, and many others. But most importantly, I would like you to know that this is recorded, and so you can get it elsewhere. You can get it on my YouTube channel, Inspirations by Monica. You can also get it on Facebook. You're going to get it, so you didn't miss that much. You're going to have it shared. If there is anyone with a question, again, I apologize for the noise coming from my background to coexist.
I have a feeling a lot of people will be joining at 6.
There's a challenge because people were used to having it at 2.
Right.
So I have a feeling that so many are waiting for 2. They could have missed the timing on the artwork, but it's still okay. I think there's no question coming in, Catherine. Would you like to share with us before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, I absolutely want people to know that it is okay to not be okay. And when we acknowledge, and heal and stay accountable and remain in that space, consistently, repeated healing, you will bloom exactly where you are. No matter what your situation is, you need to allow yourself to bloom exactly where you are. Shine, even if it's just a little bit. Keep on shining, and internal healing is very important, and you are going to be okay. You are doing okay, and you are doing a great job. And don't forget to follow me, Gratitude with Kat, and feel free to stay in touch, send a message, and we'll be exactly where we are to help you with the process of healing. Thank you again, Monica, for having me.
Thank you so much for giving us your time. I think we'll have to release you to start on with your day. And I thank all the participants for joining in. I don't take it for granted.
Thank you. Thank you, Passion.